Tom Aspinall is UFC heavyweight champion, 15-3 record, shortest average fight time in UFC history, 2 minutes 18 seconds, knocked out 6 opponents by halfway point of first round, number 7 pound-for-pound fighter in world, and nobody will fight him. Jon Jones reportedly walked away from one of biggest purses in UFC history, retired instead. Aspinall spent 554 days as interim champion, longest in UFC history. Nobody stepped up during that entire time. This is why nobody wants to fight Tom Aspinall, not because he's champion, because the risk-reward calculation is broken. Elite heavyweights have everything to lose and nothing to gain. Tom Aspinall isn't avoided because fighters are scared. He's avoided because beating him is expected, and losing to him is career-ending. Reason 1. The heavyweight speed paradox. Heavyweights aren't supposed to move like Tom Aspinall. Division built on power and patience. Slower pace, more measured exchanges. Technical boxing. Wrestling battles. 5-round wars. Aspinall breaks every rule. 6'5", 265 pounds. Frame of traditional heavyweight. Moves like middleweight. 8.07 significant strikes landed per minute. Highest rate in entire heavyweight division. Combines speed with elite wrestling and submission skills. Finished Alexander Volkov with armbar. Finished Sergey Pavlovich with strikes in 69 seconds. Finished Curtis Blades with strikes in 60 seconds. Finished Marcin Tybura with strikes in 1 minute 13 seconds. Pattern is completely clear. Opponents have 0 safe moments. No time to settle into fight. No rounds to figure out timing. No opportunity to make adjustments. Over before they establish rhythm. Last 3 UFC victories combined for total fight time. 3 minutes 22 seconds. All 3 fights combined. Pavlovich 1 minute 9 seconds, round 1. Blades exactly 1 minute round 1. Tybura 1 minute 13 seconds, round 1. 3 elite heavyweight opponents, all finished before end of opening round. Average UFC heavyweight fight lasts 12 to 15 minutes. Multiple rounds, back and forth action. Aspinall average fight time across entire UFC career. 2 minutes 18 seconds, shortest in UFC history across all weight classes. Nobody in 75 weight class divisions finishes fights faster on average. 6 of his 8 UFC victories finished by halfway point of first round. Not just winning quickly, winning before opponents can implement any game plan whatsoever. Speed problem has no solution at heavyweight level. Either you survive opening explosion or you don't. Elite heavyweights with decades of experience don't survive. Can't develop strategy when fight ends before round 2. Can't make reads. Can't adjust. Just survival mode from opening bell. Then lights out. Reason 2. The Jon Jones legacy calculation. Early 2025. UFC attempts to put together heavyweight unification bout. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Reports emerge from multiple credible sources of one of biggest purses in UFC history being offered. Some sources suggested figure in $30 million range. Massive payday by any standard. Months pass, no contract signature. Division waits. Fans wait. Media speculates. June 2025. Jon Jones announces retirement from mixed martial arts. Doesn't want Aspinall fight specifically. Vacates UFC heavyweight title. Dana White later publicly confirms that negotiations happened, but Jones ultimately declined to proceed. Walked away from reportedly massive guaranteed payday rather than accept the bout. Why would greatest fighter ever walk from biggest purse? Simple mathematics of legacy. Jones is 38 years old at time of offer. 28 wins. 1 loss by disqualification. 15 light heavyweight title defenses. Longest reign in division history. 2 division champion. Undefeated at heavyweight. Legacy as greatest mixed martial artist ever. Already universally established. What does beating Tom Aspinall actually accomplish for that legacy? Nothing meaningful. GOAT status already accepted by media, fans, fighters. Beating younger champion doesn't add to that. What does losing cost? Everything casual fans remember. 38-year-old legend, knocked out by 28-year-old champion, becomes only story casuals know. Not 19 years of dominance. Not 15 title defenses. Not GOAT status. Just old fighter who stayed too long and got knocked out. Risk-reward completely shattered for Jones specifically. Win adds nothing material to legacy that isn't already there. Loss potentially destroys 4 decades of work in casual fan memory. Reportedly historic purse not worth gambling. Entire historical legacy on single fight. Jones understood calculation perfectly. Chose retirement over risk. Made sense strategically. August 2025. White House UFC card announced for June 14, 2026. Historic event at nation's capital. Jon Jones immediately re-enters USADA testing pool. Publicly campaigns for spot on prestigious card. Wants big stage return. Dana White responds publicly and bluntly. Cannot put Jon Jones on this specific card. Need people I can count on for event this important. Jones stretched organizational trust too far with previous situation, referring to Aspinall negotiations. March 8, 2026. White House card official lineup announced to media. Jon Jones not included anywhere on card. Division has moved forward without him. Jones demands UFC release his contract days later via social media. Dana White refuses immediately. Jones remains stuck in organizational limbo, cannot fight, cannot leave, cannot get White House slot, all consequences stemming from declining to unify heavyweight titles with Aspinall. Greatest fighter in UFC history chose to avoid one specific opponent, now paying organizational price for that strategic decision. Reason 3. The interim champion trap. November 11th, 2023. Tom Aspinall knocks out Sergey Pavlovich. 1 minute 9 seconds first round. Wins UFC interim heavyweight championship. Jon Jones injured. Cannot fight at time. Aspinall becomes interim champion while waiting for Jones to return and unify. Jones returns November 2024. 1 year later. Fights Stipe Miocic for heavyweight title instead of unifying with Aspinall. Aspinall remains interim champion, keeps waiting for unification bout. Jones retires June 2025. Aspinall finally elevated to undisputed heavyweight champion, June 21st. Total time spent as interim champion before elevation, 554 days. Longest interim championship reign in UFC history by absolutely massive margin. Previous record for longest interim reign was 198 days. Aspinall nearly tripled that record. Spent over 18 months as interim champion. Why did literally nobody fight the interim champion during that unprecedented time span? Fighting interim champion creates impossible mathematical situation for contenders. Scenario 1. You win the fight. Congratulations, you beat guy with temporary belt. Doesn't count as legitimate title win on record. No championship status gained. Scenario 2. You lose the fight. You lost to someone who isn't even undisputed champion. Lost to interim. Career-damaging loss with zero upside if you had won. Pure lose-lose calculation. Zero upside. Maximum downside. Jon Jones understood this dynamic perfectly. Why would undisputed champion unify with interim champion? Makes no strategic sense. Keep real championship. Fight different opponents. Maintain status. Let interim champion wait indefinitely for someone to accept mathematically bad fight. Aspinall became trapped by his own interim status. Couldn't get real undisputed title fight while Jones held belt. Couldn't defend interim title against anyone meaningful because beating interim champion means nothing for contenders climbing rankings. Division moved completely around him. Jones fought Stipe Miocic instead. Other top contenders fought each other for position. Aspinall sat waiting over 18 months for someone to accept bout that benefited them mathematically. Nobody ever did. UFC created situation where interim belt became cage, not opportunity. Temporary status that prevented real fights from materializing. Reason 4. The UFC business model problem. UFC makes matchmaking decisions based primarily on business considerations. Competition comes second, always has. Tom Aspinall presents absolutely unique problem for that model. Extremely dangerous fighter statistically. Finishes everyone quickly, but not major pay-per-view draw. Doesn't have Jon Jones global name recognition across mainstream. Doesn't have international superstar appeal. English technical finisher, who ends fights too quickly for casual fan emotional investment. Cannot build story when fights end in 2 minutes. Elite championship level fighter, not elite business asset. UFC has long history of protecting money fights above pure competitive matchups. Current heavyweight landscape proves this pattern clearly. Aspinall is undisputed heavyweight champion. Number 7 pound-for-pound fighter in entire world. Shortest average fight time ever recorded in UFC across 75 weight classes, and currently scheduled for exactly 0 fights. No bout announced. No opponent named. No date set. Meanwhile, heavyweight division moves around him completely. Other fights get made. Other contenders get matched. Champion sits without dance partner. UFC allows this because protecting long-term business value of stars matters more than immediate competitive purity. Risk valuable asset against Aspinall? Star loses value, hurts future business. Better to match stars against each other, or against safer stylistic matchups. Build them carefully, then maybe risk them against Aspinall when they have nothing left to lose, or when business demands it, but not before. Jon Jones chose retirement over that risk reportedly. Other top contenders stay in different fights. UFC matchmakers allow this because Aspinall doesn't have star power to justify forcing opponents into mathematically bad fight. Becomes victim of being too dangerous too soon, without matching mainstream appeal to make forcing fight worthwhile from business perspective. 4 reasons nobody wants to fight Tom Aspinall. Speed at heavyweight level that gives opponents 0 safe moments to establish anything. Jon Jones reportedly walking away from one of biggest purses in UFC history to protect legacy from risk. Interim championship that lasted record 554 days because nobody would accept fight. UFC business model that rewards avoiding dangerous non-draws over pure competition. Same pattern emerges every single time. Most statistically dangerous heavyweight gets systematically avoided, not because of fear of losing, because the mathematics don't work for anyone involved. Beat Aspinall, expected result. Proves nothing special, adds minimal value. Lose to Aspinall, career trajectory altered, legacy questioned, star power damaged, business value decreased. The calculation isn't about fear, it's about cold logic. And pure logic says avoiding Tom Aspinall makes perfect sense for every single person except Tom Aspinall himself. Will Tom Aspinall ever get super fights he deserves based on skills? Maybe eventually. Will Jon Jones ever return and fight him? Almost certainly not. Will UFC force anyone to take fight against their interests? Remains unclear. But here's what's absolutely certain right now. Being most dangerous fighter in your division doesn't guarantee you fights. Sometimes it guarantees exact opposite. In UFC, talent gets you championship. But being too dangerous without matching star power gets you systematically avoided.